Welcome in, everybody, to episode 12 of the Beacon Breakdown. I'm Mike, and this week I am joined by,
Dreadful. I play on the League of Legends team, and I'm the top laner.
and he is the top laner, and a very good one as well. We're going to get into your games very shortly, but, first I kind of want to go over what the other teams that did this past week. We had our Overwatch Shield team playing in the semifinals, and they picked up a 3-1 win over Purdue White. So they're going to be moving on to the finals this Thursday at 6 o'clock, and they're going to be playing against Carroll. So Purdue game, pretty good, pretty dominant. I think it was, what we expected them to pick up that win and, playing very well as a team. This matchup against Carroll, it's going to be very close. I mean, they lost to Carroll in the regular season, but that was at the very beginning. So they've improved a lot, they've changed a lot, and the other thing that comes with Overwatch playoffs is map picks and bans. So I think that really helps Valpo be able to decide, where they want to play, what they like better.
Oh, totally. I've always heard of the Shield being this incredibly dominant season, and I'm really looking forward to watching that finals.
Yeah, it should be a good one. So tune in. It should be here at 6 o'clock this Thursday. Our other team, Rocket League, unfortunately did not advance, but it was a very close series versus Bethel. They lost 2-3, and man, they were not expected to do that well coming in. Bethel was the 1 seed, we were the 5 seed, I believe, and these guys really pushed them. I think we had 2 overtime games in the series, very, very tight. Honestly, the best defense I've seen them play all year, and Matt, aka Stat, was just electric, coming up with the goals out of nowhere, really. So very exciting that we're gonna get to see Overwatch in the finals. Rocket League coming up a little bit short there, but still, I think I'm very proud of them and their performance.
Oh yeah,
Um, then our final team that played last week is one that you know very well
yeah,
here. We had League of Legends also playing Bethel. I mean, this is quickly becoming a little bit of a in-state rivalry here. We're seeing Bethel a lot. But you guys did pick up the 2-0 win, but it might have been a little closer than that suggested. I mean,
yeah.
what did you see in that series there?
So this is actually our third time playing them. We lost our first series to them in a really close game. It was a three-game series, and we ended up losing. And then we faced them again towards the end of the season in a different league, and they had a sub in for their Masters ADC, and so we were able to handle them no problem. But then now we had to play them in the playoffs. Stakes were higher, and they didn't have any subs. They were the full strength roster. And well, that game, the first game of the series, it lasted about 41 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty
And
long.
sadly, the broadcast cut out through this incredible team fight.
You love the League of Legends
Oh,
call,
you
it's
know,
just great.
a small indie company.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did miss that big fight. I know you said you kind of missed that big fight because you were just running it down mid, but, what did you hear, that came together? I think you guys were down like 3K gold at that
Mhm.
point, and you were able to kind of claw it back. What happened in those big team fights in that first game?
Yeah, so we had this really tough team fight earlier in the game where our jungler ended up being able to kind of slide into the Baron pit and steal the Baron, and that really turned the game. We were losing gold rapidly, and if he hadn't gotten that Baron, I don't think we would have won. But then after we got that Baron, we were able to use kind of our team and our pressure from the split push because of I'm playing a split push champion on the Fiora, and I was able to. They were able to group as four and hold off the enemy team with the terrain that they were able to create with their the Anivia and Trundle picks. And then I was able to just split push on the side, and eventually I just outscaled their entire team. They couldn't handle the Fiora menace on the sideway. But yeah, eventually we had to go for the Elder Dragon fight, and that one was tough because I needed to be pushing mid lane. I was threatening to end the game, but we were trying to just stop the backs. We weren't even trying to win the team fight. We were just trying to hold on as long as we could. They just Kimbo on the Anivia played it just insane. I don't think I saw him miss a single stun or ability the entire team fight. He, when I was tabbing back and forth between my screen and their screen,
Yeah.
they were kiting out the fight. They were playing it really well, and they ended up winning the 4v5 while I was ending the game at the same time. It's a little cherry on top, but it was a really tough game. game one. It went super late.
And then, coming out of that, you win the game. How much does that help your momentum, coming into game two after you just, clawed back and, what did you change up and keep going into that second game, I guess?
Oh, it was huge. The boost we got to our mental and just like our the morale was super high. We were super relieved we were out of the game finally. And then going into the next game we were just coming in with confidence. I can't speak for Bethel, but losing a tough game like that, it's like it's a bit soul crushing at times. Not as much as getting just stomped in a game, but it can be definitely be pretty tough. But they definitely came out swinging in the beginning of the first game, up until we started to just run away with it with some crazy, well executed team fights.
And then, you talked about the Masters ADC. Was that kind of like their top player, the one you wanted to target? And like, how did you guys approach dealing with him?
Yeah, so the first game we banned all three of his most played champions. We just completely target banned him. Though to be fair, they target banned our mid laner. And then in the next game, they banned two of our mid lane champions, and then the Fiora from last game. And then we just kept banning the ADC.
Yeah.
We had to kind of focus around them. We made plays bot to make sure we didn't get out pressured. We had to really kind of just have our team on like a kind of just emergency watch, always making sure bot lane isn't getting collapsed on, nobody's roaming bot lane. Try to keep everything away from the bot lane. Don't let the Masters ADC get any gold, and I think they did a really good job of that. Even then, he was ended up being like 7-2 at like 15 minutes, and it's just he was a pain to deal with. But luckily, the champions we drafted, we were really good at dealing with them. So.
All right, so now looking ahead, this Wednesday, just 2 days away, you guys are moving on to the finals here. I believe it is BU Spear who's going to be your opponents. Without leaking too much, what are you guys
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at for that matchup?
Well, I mean, I think we're looking to have like a nice fun series. I think it's gonna be a good series, but we're definitely confident that we can beat them. We were going into the playoffs, we were under the impression that if we had to play Bethel, that they were probably the our hardest challenge just from the team matchup wise that we'd have to play. But I mean, I think it's gonna be it could be close. It has the potential of being really close. It could also have the potential of being a bit of a blowout. But we'll have to see how it goes. I'm excited, looking forward to the 2 days away. But yeah,
So I guess, just talking a little bit more on like Bethel and more generically, the idea of facing a team 3 times in the semester, how does that change, versus the first time you play them to the third time you play them?
oh yeah. So we ended up playing the first time we played them. We lost the first game, super close. Then we go into the second game. And the second game, super close game. We narrowly sneak out against them. And then the third game, they ended up just being able to win in they played that game really well and they ended up winning. It was a pretty dominant game on their half. Um, but then the next time we played them, uh, seeing that their Masters ADC wasn't there, we had just all the confidence in the world that we could beat them. But then, before we even played them the third time, we actually got to meet that team in person in Columbus, Ohio, for the GLEC tournament, and we were able to like talk with the players and stuff, and it was a really good time, just being able to talk with them and kind of converse about, oh yeah, like the series and stuff. Now because we were 1-1, but I didn't even know that we had the potential of even facing them in playoffs, or what side of the bracket they were on. But facing them again, kind of, we had that loss was still fresh in our mind,
Yep.
and we came out swinging.
So Wednesday is going to be NECC competition, but you guys did compete in 2 different leagues. Like you
Yeah.
talked about the GLEC. You went to the LAN, about a month ago, I think. So what was that, experience like? I believe was that your first LAN event that you went to?
That is my first LAN event ever. I've played competitive league before coming here. It was all online. COVID didn't help, obviously, but
Right.
uh, I mean, it was a great time. I've never done anything quite like it. I've never been to a kind of venue like that before. Um, and it was really really fun. I would love to do it again.
Did you notice like any differences, playing on land? Did you have like, more nerves, being able to like see your opponents right there, what was the difference in gameplay like? Was there any?
I could definitely feel the nerves the first game when I was watching the team play. They were definitely present. Just seeing how everything kind of happened. But I felt like after I was a little nervous going into the game, but after I kind of sat down, I had my same keyboard, I had my same mouse, I was I was feeling pretty good and going into the game. I could feel like a little jitters just here and there, but after the first game, I was kind of in the zone, locked in, and I was feeling it. It was good. I could The funniest thing was looking at the opponents during the game. Like sometimes like we paused the game and then like we peeked around and like, "Hey, you guys ready?" And it was just like so weird because normally you have to
Yeah.
type in the chat or whatever. But it was different. And then seeing I felt bad after like we beat them in the first round, and then we also felt bad when we lost in the second round.
Right,
Just
obviously.
yeah, you have to shake hands, which was nice, as opposed to just typing GG in the chat. But yeah, it's definitely eye-opening. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, watching you on the Olaf, I believe, I didn't notice much difference there from the
Yeah.
audience. That's pretty good performance in one of those games, I believe. So, just overall, we talked about, the beginning of the season, kind of some rough matchups, but how do you think the team's kind of grown throughout these past few months together?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the best I've seen. I've been on the team, the best form we've ever been in. We went into the season kind of confident with our roster, our lineup. We end up losing the first game to let me think now.
Mount Union, I
Mount
believe.
Union, that's right. We lost the first game of the season, first match to Mount Union. We ended up being able to beat them in Columbus. That was the cherry on top. That kind of like we got them back. But it was tough. We went and we VOD reviewed extensively. What did we mess up? How did we learn from this? And it was great, and we improved, and we didn't lose a single game until one weekend where we ended up dropping two, one of them to the one seed and the other to Bethel itself. And so we've kind of, besides the crazy team of challengers and grandmasters, we've been able to win against all the teams that beat us so far.
Talk to me a little bit about the team. You kept a lot of the same players from last year. I know there were a lot of you that were freshmen, now
Hmm.
sophomores, but you do have one new player kind of in that starting five with Amon. What
Yeah.
has he brought to the team?
Yeah, Eamon brought like a different champion pool that we previously didn't have. And with Edgar moving from the supporter position to playing ADC with Karis, it kind of offers two kind of distinct different play styles. Because Karis is like this super mechanical hyper carry, that just wins the game if he gets ahead or if they get ahead. And then Edgar brought like the really wide champion pool. He was playing everything, and just being able to complement that with Eamon's on support, he's doing a great job. And then, funnily enough, the core, like the top four of us, we're all, besides the mid laner, we're all sophomores. And so we're gonna be here next year, and then the year after that all together. And I think the chemistry is playing a huge part because last year we didn't really hang out too much outside of esports. We come to esports, hang out. It was all, yeah, I mean, they were great guys. And then we go back. It was kind of we go to work.
Mhm.
Now after our work, we're hanging out, we're going doing stuff, we're playing Magic, we're just having fun together, and I think that's helped us a lot.
And then, the other piece of the puzzle that we haven't brought up yet, which I feel like we have to mention, is Coach Chase.
Yeah,
Talk to me a little bit about, the preparation that goes in through these scrims, through these practices.
yeah. I mean, he watches so much League of Legends content per
Yeah.
week for us. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. He always kind of knows what's coming up on the meta or what to look out for. Sometimes he's on spot on the nose, sometimes not so much, but you got to try things.
Uh-huh.
And his drafts have been really good, and in partnering that up with some of the in-depth analysis we've had with Josh doing the analysis of all of our opponents has been and all our stats as well. It's just been really, really helpful. We're the most prepared for drafts and games I've ever felt we've been.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at the LAN, Chase had the notebook out, and Josh said, "Okay, here are the stats. Here are our opponent's best champions, and this is what we should play." And you guys kind of had it all planned out, which was incredible to see.
Yeah, it was insane. were able to predict what they would play at the LAN, pick per pick, ban for ban, by Chase. He wrote down, I think they're gonna do this, and they did exactly that. And it was really funny to see
Yeah,
while it was happening.
I mean, that's incredible. It just gives you such an edge. But, you bring up the meta and, how much this game of League of Legends changes. And, right now we just started up this new preseason with a bunch of changes. How has that affected you guys, going into this matchup against Bethel and now this one against BU Spear?
Yeah, I mean, we played on the first day of the preseason for our first match, and then this most recent match is going to be on the first day of the new patch, where a bunch of different buffs and changes are coming in. And the preseason patch, we were under a little bit of panic, because like, what is it going to be? What's the meta? And then we're like, okay, Ravenous Hydra, really, really, really strong. Uh, People had predicted tanks to be crazy strong, and it wasn't really the case. It was really more of they scale really well in the late game, but they don't do anything until 3 items. And so we kind of capitalized that because I'm not the most tank player. I can admit that. I uh, I generally play bruisers and carries top lane, and we were a little bit panicking, like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Can I even still play my same champion pool?
Hmm.
And our fears were not what they were, and it worked out pretty well. And so now going into this most recent patch, we think tanks are going to be a little bit better, so it's worth like giving them like a look at, but nothing to like be too scared about, I think. But
And I mean, you bring up yourself with the lack of tanks. Can you talk a little bit about, what your play style and mentality is? Because, you tend to play these very aggressive champions, I guess, from what I see. So,
yeah, my personal philosophy is generally I pick the best champion that I feel could serve at the role. And a lot of times I'm like, well, he picks this thing, so I'm gonna pick this champion and I'm just gonna kill him. And I'm just trying to win my lane, and I'm gonna trying to spread my advantage to the rest of the team. I'm a big fan of like the split pushing and kind of moving around the map like that. But and I definitely like the more mechanical, flashy champions like the Riven from last week. I was really excited to
oh
pull her
yeah.
out. I was that game felt like a fever dream. But it was the tanks. Some of them can be really funny, but I find them a lot of times they don't best serve the purpose I want to. Though a lot of times they are the best champion for the job.
Yeah. You just gotta avoid that Akali top, right?
Well, okay. We don't
Uh,
speak of the Akali top
okay.
incident.
Yes. Yes. Um, but I mean, outside of that, what is it like? Everyone always talks about how, top lane is kind of just playing their own game, and we
Yeah.
see in these team fights, you're just kind of off and, the other four members are fighting. So what is the experience like, being so separate, so isolated?
Well, I think my personal opinion is that the top lane champions are the strongest champion kits in the game. However, that comes with the fact that they aren't really able to impact the bottom side of the map for the first effectively 14 minutes, unless you're willing to risk losing a lot of stuff, a lot of resources top lane. And so what comes with that is that best in to use our position top lane, if you can win that lane, it snowballs so fast because if you send the jungler up there, then it means, oh, maybe we can dive bot now, or maybe we can dive mid. Maybe we're gonna have a mid laner push the wave, and we're gonna 4-man dive bot. We're gonna get dragon, and so you have to really be careful allocating resources to top lane. And I've had games when we've been camped before. I've been camped before. I just the jungler on the other team is just ganking me and ganking me and ganking me, and I might be 0-3, and I'm kind of laughing to myself because we're getting both dragons. We got delve bot lane's winning, mid's winning. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. But I feel like the best way, if you can get that advantages when you can, the small advantages, they all add up. And it's a really unique position because if you do get ahead top lane, you can carry the games. But you have to really make sure you're empowering your team more than anything because at the end of the day, it is a team game, and they don't want one role to just be able to play the game for everybody else.
Right. One final note here. I see a lot in the Discord. Nolan, aka Vector, loves coming up with these new crazy builds, crazy champions. Anything funny that, you're looking forward or off meta that, you want to play and pull out if possible here?
Well, I've been a really big fan of for a while of the Azir top lane.
Oh boy.
Now, he's a mage, he's a control mage. He's able to kite out any melee in the game. He applies a lot of AP burn damage over time, and he's really slippery. However, the team won't let me play him, uh, because our mid laner is just a better Azir player. However, I mean, I think, it has its purposes, especially with tanks being more and more in the meta. It could possibly have its fruition one day with my efforts. But other than that, I think Rise Top with the new Roa could be interesting, though I'm not convinced that Roa is a good item yet for all even after the buffs. But
Okay. Well, we're just gonna have to, keep an eye out and keep tuning into these games, and maybe one day we'll see the Azir come out, right? We
one
can,
day,
we
I'm
can hope.
hoping.
We can
I'm
hope.
hoping.
But other than that, you can tune in to their championship game this Wednesday. We're still waiting on the time. I don't think we have an update on that, but check our socials. We'll be getting that time out Wednesday night for your final as soon as we have it. So I think that's all from us. Thank you very much for joining me here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So tune in Wednesday night. That'll be our next stream. And thank you for watching this episode of the Beacon Breakdown.
See ya.